Battlefield 6 is coming. Soon we will once again engage in that euphoric curiosity that is exploring new Battlefield maps. Are you ready? While driving home a few weeks ago, I was dwelling on the concept of Battlefield 6, and thoughts about new maps came to mind. I thought a lot about past Battlefield maps in the series, and more importantly, what recent Battlefield games are missing. And honestly, two words kept coming back to mind: uniqueness and sandbox. With uniqueness, I don't simply mean originality or something large just for scale's sake. I am referring to a map concept that is unique to a Battlefield game in that only a Battlefield game can pull it off, regardless of how chaotic it could be. And sandbox, which might be obvious, refers to simply the dull, complicit, and seemingly effortless way in which Battlefield games have recently had their maps designed. Maps which exist simply to throw a few tanks and planes against each other and to placate as many people as possible to avoid making that undesirable map. A sandbox is meant to be played in, to experiment in, to go nuts in. Take every single resource you have and chuck it together to see what happens. A map full of tanks? Make it. An underground map comprising of sewers and twisting tunnels? Make it. A map for air combat chaos? Make it. Let your imagination run wild. This is, in my opinion, among the greatest deficits of modern Battlefield games. But all is not lost. What is missing now, we once had, and can have again. This is my concept for a remastered Battlefield map, Coral Sea 2021. First things first, what was Coral Sea? To give the shortest answer, it was a Battlefield 1942 map which focused almost entirely on air-to-air combat. Dozens of planes in the air at a time, dogfighting, carrying saboteurs, and attempting to sink the enemy team's aircraft carrier, which formed almost the entirety of the playable terrain, and was ultimately the objective of the map. Not flags, not tickets, not MCOMs, simply damage the enemy carrier enough to sink it before they sink yours. Some key features to note. This was a map with a World War II setting. This was a map with a unique concept and game mode. This was a map that focused entirely on one feature of the game, air. This was a map that, amazingly, encouraged greater team play intrinsically than many other Battlefield maps. Now, close your eyes for a moment. I want you to picture yourself standing on the deck of a large aircraft carrier in open water. It is dusk, and you can see the sun setting far in the distance. On the deck of the carrier are multiple F-35 Lightning fighter planes. Two take off in front of you, and as you watch them get altitude, your attention turns to see two new planes ready for launch and new pilots ready to scramble. The carrier deck is chaotic, with players trying to jockey for the next planes to spawn, while others run to the transport helicopters on the opposite side of the ship. One of the planes you were watching take off explodes from a bomb dropped from high above. Chinese jets, which launched from their own carrier on the other side of the map, descend upon your ship. From the front and back of your carrier, 3 Centurion CRAM batteries open fire against the attackers, spraying the darkening sky with tracer fire. The battle has begun. My concept of Coral Sea is meant to bring a modern twist on the Battlefield 1942 favorite and endear it to a new generation of fans. The map would be extensively large in order to give enough room for the aircraft to dogfight and maneuver around the map outside the range and vision of the two carriers. A fog would be rolling in, obscuring vision below a low altitude. Just like the original map, dozens of planes would be able to spawn, with new jets spawning every 10 seconds after the previous one was destroyed or took off. To achieve balance, If one team has a significant jet advantage, their new jets will have a growing spawn delay, while the enemy teams will continue to respawn quickly until the numbers are balanced out. 2 transport helicopters should spawn on the opposite side of the flight deck, with a total of 6 being able to spawn at a time. These transports would do their best to navigate the jagged peaks and rocks between the ships, and make their way across the map to deploy infantry on the enemy carrier. A light fog, which is rolling in, provides some visibility protection at low altitude, below that of the carrier deck. On the middle of the map, surrounded by rocks and shoals, is a tiny island shrouded by the fog. On this small island is a flag, although its capture provides no ticket advantage. It is simply a forward spawn, a flag which provides additional rib boats and 1 extra transport helicopter to the team which owns it. While bombing and dogfighting rages on above and chaos consumes the carrier deck, infantry players will find something more to do than on the original map. The carriers, powered by a modern game engine, will be large, complex, detailed models, with the interior of each ship carefully crafted to allow an interior firefight across a few decks. Attacking players will be able to board the carriers via the amphibious boat deck on the rear of the ship or by makeshift ladders near the side elevators. Infantry able to get on board the enemy team's carrier would have 2 objectives: the armory and the engine room. Hitting the carrier's engine room with enough damage will trigger an explosion, damaging the ship for 25% of its health. Meanwhile, the armory offers an even greater reward. Damaging this interior section of the ship near the freight elevator enough will cause a catastrophic explosion, ripping through that section of the ship right through the hole to the flight deck. A levolution, one which can occur for both teams. While planes and helicopters would still be able to launch, the ship would take another 25% damage and provide another entryway for the enemy players to gain access via ribs and helicopter drop-offs. Meanwhile, each defending team would not be bored. Like their engineer brethren from Battlefield 1942, players of the engineer class would be able to repair the damage to the carriers, slowly restoring its health by using the repair tools on certain sections of the ship. These unique sections would make them a prime target for boarders. Additionally, the engine room would provide a bonus to the repair effort, granting increased repair rates so long as the engine room is not destroyed. Should both internal targets be destroyed, the engine room and the armory, each ship may not be repaired more than 50% of its starting HP. With jets from each ship attacking constantly, each carrier would not be defenseless to the carnage. As mentioned earlier, 3 separate player-operated Centurion CRAM AA guns would blaze the sky and obliterate enemy planes. However, these guns would be locked in place and unable to fire at anything below their horizontal axes, thereby giving transports an angle to attack. Now, if I were to entice dice just a moment, imagine, devs, a day-night cycle on this map, whereby during the moonlit night the fire of the CRAMs and the explosions of planes and bombs all around created a visual spectacle on your beautiful engine. The fire from the shells and the tracers illuminating the darkness and reflecting on the water below with the help of ray tracing. To prevent mass repairing, each ship would have a maximum repair rate. Moreover, each carrier would only be allowed to be returned to 25% more than its lowest HP hit by that point in the round. This creates an inevitable end. At some point, one ship will sink with all hands on board. Those on the deck will be forced into the open water, where bombs from above and boats nearby can finish them before the ship finally goes deep beneath the waves and the round will end. This is my Coral Sea remake concept for Battlefield 6. On it, a few things would be required, such as dumbfire bombs which can be dropped from planes, as well as significant testing to carrier damage and repair rates. It would also require just the right amount of fog to prevent each carrier from seeing each other across the map or from the center island. But overall, I see this remake of a classic Battlefield map as an opportunity for DICE to once again be daring in their map design, go all in with vehicle chaos, and deliver an objective-based map away from the normal Conquest-style gameplay. The original Coral Sea map inadvertently focused players to pull together as a team, as it was a do-or-die win condition. Just once more, I think players deserve this kind of battle. Some players will love it. Others will absolutely hate it. That is the nature of all Battlefield maps. But this is an attempt to remaster a classic map and give more than just the pilots something to do. This is Coral Sea 2021.